What I'm about to tell you is going to come across quite negatively. I want people who have saved for 2-3 years to buy the right Omega. I would hate for you to read reviews about how great a watch is, and it is sadly not. Hello and welcome back to the channel. This video is entitled Birmingham Part 2, where I mainly focus on Omegas. If you've seen Part 1, I don't need to explain the difficulties with shopping in central Birmingham, but if you can make it into the bull ring, you're absolutely fine. And in the Birmingham bull ring, you will find the Omega boutique. About a year ago, it was taken over by Omega, so it is a corporate Omega boutique. Give you an example, in the back they may or may not have had 6 first Omegas in space to choose from, so that Brenny could get the right serial number-ish if he'd has chosen to purchase the watch. Sadly, it wasn't for me. It was the first time I'd actually seen the watch in the flesh, and unlike other YouTubers, when I do a proper review on a watch, I want to actually see the watch in the flesh. My channel is a hobby channel that got slightly bigger and slightly more out of control. When I slag off a brand, it's because I've spent my money with them. When I tell you that this watch is incredible, it's because I've probably owned it. When I say that a Diver 300M, the new one, is very disappointing, that doesn't mean it's a bad watch. That just means it's very disappointing to somebody who has been waiting for years for them to make a decent version. They're like halfway there, and then they make another version almost exactly the same, and another version almost exactly the same. Or they have this technology on the Diver 300M where they can detach the bracelet, which is a real pain for us watch enthusiasts trying to gouge away at our cases to get these bracelets off so we can put them on straps. They have this technology that they put on a new watch, a Olympic edition, and then they didn't roll it out to the rest of the range, and they didn't retrofit some of the stock. I priced up that bracelet. If I was to buy that bracelet from an Omega boutique, it's £950. Isn't that crazy? What I'm about to tell you is going to come across quite negatively, but I don't care. I want people who have saved for 2-3 years by the right Omega. I would hate for you to read reviews about how great a watch is, and it is sadly not as good as it could have been. I'm about to talk about 6 watches that I have had in my hand only for about an hour, so you're going to have to take that information and decipher it yourselves. I think what I'll do is start off with a positive first. Let's do the best watch first, the one that I would highly recommend that you buy, and this is very simple. Omega does have some perfect watches. They've had slight improvements, tiny improvements, like this particular watch didn't have a micro adjustment on the bracelet. Now it does. Does that make sense? But the bracelet is so comfortable, you're very unlikely to need it. Yeah, I know, the Speedy, the Sapphire Sandwich, the white one. This watch is pure perfection, absolute pure perfection. I love this watch. On a lot of Omegas, Brenny will say, well, it's not got water resistance, it's not got a screw down crown, and I don't expect it to be on this watch. Do you get me? Because you have to manually wind it every day. So why would you want a screw down crown? So in later on parts of this video, I'm going to say it's an automatic and it doesn't have a screw down crown. That's because that's insane. It's insane to make a almost £10,000 watch that's automatic, that's a sports watch, that hasn't got a screw down crown. Like the Spy Rate, that's crazy. Automatic sports watch, not got a screw down crown. If you already own a Snoopy, or you want your first Omega, very simple, buy a sapphire sandwich. If you want it to look like the older ones and have to polywash the glass, buy the slightly cheaper one with the Hesselite as glass. You're better off with the sapphire sandwich, hands down. It's the best Omega, and get it on the bracelet, and then over time treat yourself to one of their straps, one of their deployable clasps, one of their nasal straps, and basically get on with your life and never look back. If you're only buying one Omega, no problem, walk into an Omega boutique and buy it. Where I get annoyed is if you've got multiple Omegas in the collection and you've spent your hard-earned money that you saved up for, you worked for, and you buy a new model, and then you see 6 months later an AED dumping the entire lot of stock at £3,000-4,000 off per watch that you spent, you would get annoyed. And that's one of my biggest bugbears with Omega, and I'm not going to go on about it in this episode. So to sum up, the best watch out of all the watches you're about to see was the one I've just shown you, and that saves a lot of you asking me the question, Brenny, which one is your favorite? That's the one I would buy. Because I have the Snoopy, I would buy the black one. Does that make sense? I think what's quite important would be to talk about a watch that I've been waiting for a hell of a long time, guys, and that would be this watch, the Diver 300M. It could have been incredible. This particular one, I don't advise that you purchase it. I honestly don't. I think it's a hard pass from Brenny. Couple of reasons. The Milanese bracelet is not comfortable. I'm telling you now, this is an owner's perspective. It's not comfortable. I had the 60th anniversary, and once I removed that bracelet, it never went back on the watch. I have owned the green Seamaster Diver 300, and I loved the bracelet. I do not have a problem with the standard Seamaster Diver 300 bracelet. I know it's not tapered, but I never had a problem with it. And in fact, I found that the lugs were quite thick, and in order to get the watch to fit better on a wrist about 7 inches, better off buying 2 extra half links to get that curvature just right. So on my Seamaster Diver 300M, I had 4 half links. I just did, it just felt better. So that's the first problem with the watch. The feedback that Omega have had for decades is the helium escape valve that nobody ever uses is too big, and it's still there, it's still big. So they're not listening. You're not listening to Omega. The other thing for me, just a bugbear, is I'm not a fan of the skeleton hands. I'm just not. I like the hands from the older watches like Peter Blake's. What really bugged me was this watch has a non-date function, which I prefer. Has an aluminium bezel, which I don't prefer, but it costs about £500 more. I got told by a person working at the Omega boutique that the cost is in the creation of the glass, the shape of the glass crystal. And if you believe that, you'll believe anything. That's what I was told. What this watch could have been perfect. Smaller helium escape valve, the standard Omega bracelet with the quick release, you know what I mean? Quick release, press a button, it's off, press a button, it's on. Tapered would have been nice on the new bracelet. The hands could have done with a change, they really could. And then they would have had the perfect watch. perfect Seamaster Diver 300M. So this watch is a hard pass. If you're thinking of buying this watch, I can save you a lot of trouble. I bumped into a subscriber called Paul. How you doing, Paul? And he was wearing the perfect Seamaster Diver 300M. He was. I even said to him, Paul, you got the right one. Basically, the standard Seamaster, the white dial. That's the one to buy. And I'm going to tell you the opposite to what I always say. Buy it pre-owned, not on the bracelet. You can get them pre-owned, not on the bracelet, mint condition for $3.5. Then you go to the Omega boutique and you order that bracelet. You do. And for $4.5, which is £1,100 less than MSRP, you've created the perfect Omega. And you're welcome. The next watch I want to talk about is the new Moon Phase Meteor dial. Gotta tell you, the one I had in my hands, I didn't like that dial. They had sort of a pattern at 9 o'clock that would have bugged me. That's part of the charm of a meteorite dial, isn't it? It's individual. That doesn't mean it's good, guys. Big watch, guys. Big watch. 5-bar water resistance, manual wind, 43mm case, 21mm strap width. It's only 13.6mm thick, obviously because it's a manual wind. It just doesn't do it for me, guys. It really doesn't. I could also never see myself spending that kind of money on that particular watch. I couldn't do it, guys. Absolutely couldn't do it. I genuinely don't even think it's a nice looking watch. It's very muted, isn't it? Very muted in grey. Considering what you can buy pre-owned for £16,100. You could buy a much better Omega pre-owned for that. It's incredible what you can buy pre-owned for that kind of money. And it's the latest watch and they have them available, so that will tell you an issue there. Let's move on to the new Seamaster Aqua Terra. Beautiful dial, absolutely gorgeous watch. I like the fact that they have framed the date window, and it's a funny sort of not square window. I like the date wheel, I like everything about the watch except the bracelet. Yeah, don't like the bracelet. The clasp, I've never liked the wing clasp, never. And or a butterfly clasp, whatever you want to call it. There's a big design flaw with the watch. The micro adjustment on the clasp, when you extend it, you're missing the bracelet. So if you need to wear the watch and you can't get the watch comfortable on your wrist, you're basically wearing a watch with a big hole in the middle of the bracelet. I mean, I couldn't contain myself when I saw it. I'm like, are you joking? Are you serious? And the feedback was, well, the Seamaster does it. I said, yeah, but it's not that bad. It doesn't look that terrible. You can wear the Seamaster 300M bracelet extended and you don't look like somebody's stolen some of your bracelet. Yeah, so this is a brand new bracelet, newly designed with that inner function that you press them two buttons. What's also hilarious is you go opposite to yourself. So you push down, you push it closed to extend it, and you pull it open to close it. That took me a bit of time to figure that one out. Yeah, again, not a good I don't know how they get away with it. I genuinely don't know how they get away with some of these designs that who's making these bloody watches? Right, so let's move on to the first Omega in space. This is a watch I was seriously about to buy, and there's a lot of problems with this watch. There's so many problems with this watch. I would suggest if you don't own a Speedy, don't buy this, buy the Speedy. That saves you a lot of hassle. I'm going to list a couple of things with this watch purely from somebody that was going to buy this watch. When I was looking at the serial number on the one they had in the shop, it began with 88. That's really important because when I owned a 321, it began with 88. This one ended in 45, but my one ended in 88 as well, and it would have been nice if I bought this first Omega in space to have an 88 either end. It just would have mattered to me. Anthony, you would have understood this. So yeah, the bracelet. I was told it's the same bracelet, but I don't remember the bracelet on the 321 being so flimsy. I mean, it is really flimsy, disappointingly flimsy. It's not a patch on the bracelet on the standard Speedy. Does that make sense? Number one. Obviously it's smaller, it's more tapered. The lug width on this watch is only 19. The standard Speedy is 20. Get it? I get it, guys. Second problem with the watch is the sub-dial. On this picture, you got to see this, guys. You see they're all white. I don't know how they've done that. See, they're all white. That's got to be a mistake, hasn't it? I only just spotted that. That's crazy. I think, yeah, you see, it looks like they're all white, but they're not, guys. From the video, you can clearly see it's some kind of metal that disappears. It's just not a good, it was a stupid idea to copy something from the past that was stupid, isn't it? Let's just copy a stupid idea again. Oh yeah, good idea. It's a stupid idea 30 years ago. Yeah, let's do it again. It's not like that on the 321. And then there's almost no loom on the minute hand. It doesn't make any sense to me. It probably won't matter on this watch, but it just doesn't make any sense to me. Third problem with this watch is the second timing hand. Apparently it was an issue to people I was with on the day, but didn't bother me. It wouldn't have bothered me because that's what the 321 has. So yeah, it's just almost there, isn't it? It's just not there. And this is a watch I raved about, everybody raved about, Watch Gringa raved about, Ocean O'Malley raved about, but they've never actually seen the watch in the flesh, have they? I don't know if Adrian Barker's seen this watch in the flesh, but I'm sure he raved about it. Yeah, sadly, if you want to buy this watch, you're listening to Branny, don't buy it, buy the Speedy. I'm gonna just try something with normal people here. If you already own a Speedy and you want this watch, I don't have an issue with that. I'm trying to save somebody who only has a budget for one Omega. This is not the one to buy. Speaking of not the one to buy, we're going to go on to another Omega that I highly recommend you don't buy. The world of Brenny. Looking at bloody watches. Speaking of watches that I do not recommend at all, is the new Speedmaster Pilot. First of all, the dial is a mess. What a mess. If you don't think that dial is a mess, you are crazy. I like the fact that the bracelet is brushed and the case is brushed. On my Spectre, the case was polished and the bracelet was brushed, and it just didn't look right, guys. It didn't look right. I mean, fully brushed, that means all the links are brushed. What can I say about this watch that impressed me? The loom, maybe. The loom on the hands. Now this watch has 10 bar water resistance, but it hasn't got a screw down crown. This watch is thick because it's an automatic. An automatic requires you not to need to wind it every day, and it hasn't got a screw down crown. It's a pilot's watch. And I was told a pilot never come into contact with the ocean. They do a lot of ocean training. They dump them in the ocean, probably on a regular basis, so that they're not ill prepared if that happens, that they have to ditch in the ocean. So that is a problem straight away. People don't realize that this watch is not fit for purpose. But how many pilots are going to buy this watch? Very few. Very few. For a thick watch, it's only got 20 mm lug to lug. It's 14.7 millimeters thick. I don't want to get too technical on this watch. I don't hate the watch. I would not spend the money they're asking for the watch. And when you consider this is the latest model, they have one for sale. So demand cannot be that high. I'm looking at the yellow hand now. I believe it's the second hand, and Jesus Christ, this dial is just killing me here. It's absolutely killing me here. That yellow hand will just drive me nuts. If you bought this watch, I apologize, but this watch is a hard pass for me. I think what you need to do is look at these two watches together, and if you're a collector, you'll just keep buying these Omegas till you're broke, because they've got differences. That doesn't mean they're any good. This is crazy, guys. I'm now looking at the first Omega in space and the Pilot watch, and I'm loving the look of these watches, the overall look, because they're basically rehashed Speedies. And when I was actually in the showroom and I was doing this exact video, I basically said, I'm just going to rebuy my Speedy. Hope you enjoyed my take on the probably latest 6 Omega watches. There was the other color meteorite dial, but I just wasn't interested. And there have been some other Omegas that launched in the past few months, but I just wasn't interested in looking at those watches. From my point of view, if you're new to Omega and you caught this video in time, hopefully you listen to Brennan got the right watch. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you on the next brand new video.